Pregame.com.
Your head upside down.
Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens, Sunday action, NFL. I'm joined by Stephen Nover. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Stephen, Houston Texans, do they have a shot going into Baltimore? Baltimore coming off a bye week.
I don't have an opinion, Marco. I'm sorry on this game. I do want to watch it, though, and just see what the Texans are made of. They've always been a talented team, but a head case type of team, a team that's not very physically imposing. And this is always a tough challenge to go into Baltimore. The Ravens are far more intimidating at home. They play far better at home. And this really, though, is a good game to talk about because it'll give us an indication of just how improved the Texans are. They appear to have a real good shot at winning their division. They appear to be improved on defense, but now they're going into Baltimore where Joe Flacco is far better quarterback when he's at home. They don't have Mario Williams on defense anymore, perhaps their most impactful defensive player. They don't have Andre Johnson. And they're an under 500 team when Johnson hasn't played. And Matt Schaub is not having a good year. Let's see what he's made out of. Let's see what the Texans are made out of.
Well, I am going to make the play here on this one, and I'm going to look at the total. And I don't like Baltimore coming off the bye week. I'm a guy that when I look at buys, here's Baltimore. They went into the bye on a very high note. They rolled St. Louis by 30 points. No big deal, but then they followed that up with a big Sunday night game against the New York Jets. That's a big game. They played last year, revenge type game. Situation, the Jets are a team that everybody at the beginning of the season put in the top 4 or 5 teams in the AFC,
Sure.
to get to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And the history of the coach, he was at Baltimore before, Rex Ryan and everything. So that was a big win. You go into the bye week, you're feeling all fat and sassy. They're on top of the division. The Steelers have not played, that well this year. So Baltimore's the king of the division right now. I'm looking for them to come out a little bit flat. And when I look at flat, to me, it's the makeup of this team is the defense. When you think of the Baltimore Ravens, you think of the defense before you think of the offense. I don't think the defense on Baltimore is as good as it used to be. But I'm more concerned about the defense on Houston. People are looking at this Houston team, and they're going to say they held Indianapolis to 7, Miami to 13, Pittsburgh to 10. Last week, Oakland got 25. Emotional game because Al Davis, Oakland was fired up and everything. But they're talking about, Wade Phillips come in, installed the defense, the 3-4 defense, and he's going to be, get this team turned around defensively. They haven't faced a good quarterback. Now, I mentioned Pittsburgh in that list, and obviously Pittsburgh has a good defense. But the game they faced Pittsburgh's offensive line was decimated. They were down to, they had to, tight end in there, for one of the line spots. They lost their offensive lineman. They were thin going into the game, and then they had injuries in the game, and they just couldn't keep Ben upright in that game. The one team they faced that did have an offense was New Orleans, and they put up 40 on this team. I think we're getting a soft number here with 45 because there's a misconception of the Houston defense playing better and the misconception that this Baltimore defense is still the Baltimore defense of old. It's not. They held Pittsburgh to 7. Again, Pittsburgh, that game, killed themselves. 7 turnovers in that game. It was just ridiculous. Tennessee put up 26 against them in a game that was a flat spot for Baltimore, but they held St. Louis to 7. St. Louis is a team we talked about that's got a ton of injuries, and the Jets have been having all kinds of problems this year. So I don't think they've faced a good offense. Now, is Houston an elite offense? Obviously not. They're missing Andre Johnson and stuff. That's a key part of it, but they're a capable offense. I got to put them as one of the better offenses on that list that they're facing.
Well, I think you're kind of bucking some things if you go over on this. The Ravens are allowing less than 15 points this year, and the Texans are going to run the ball with Foster, especially without Andre Johnson. Baltimore is very tough to run against at home. I think they have the best nose guard in football in Nagoda. This guy's 350 pounds. You can't move him out. So what do the Texans do if they can't, they can't get Foster to move the chains? They're going to have to throw. I don't see them being successful throwing much on Baltimore without Andre Johnson. The rest of their wide receivers are very nondescript. They like to throw to their tight ends. They have some good pass-catching tight ends. Marco, though, I think you really got to study the injury report on this game to get involved. It's a big plus for your over if Lee Evans is going to play. He's Baltimore's one legitimate deep threat. They don't have any deep threat without him. Although the rookie, Torrey Smith showed some potential, but he's very inconsistent. And Baltimore has some defensive backs that have been injured. Early reports, and we're taping this on Thursday, is that they will not be ready to play again, but that's not for sure. So they may get some of their walking wounded back on defense. So if you're going to get involved, I would suggest, really, studying the injury reports on this one.
I hear you. You're going to see the Houston defense is going to get exposed for being a little bit counterfeit. And like I said, Baltimore's going to get their points. I think if Houston can get me to 20, I'm going to get my over, and that's what I'm banking on here. I'm going to go over. The total's 45. My projected score is Baltimore 30, Houston 23. That gets me over the total.
Well over the total.
Well over the total. So we're going to go with a play over my official selection. And Stephen, those are our 3 games. We're going to be back with our ever popular rants of the week. You got a couple. I've got one. We'll be back next with the rants of the week.